And hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Over. Damien Smith, joined by Michael Czar of Game Over Ottawa. And man, where do we even start? Like, I'm just feeling good. I'm feeling good. We talked about it a little bit before the stream here, and the Sens, they're on a roll. That is their third five-game win streak of the season. Things are just, they're pretty good. There was a little bit of a scare there, right, Michael? But, the Sens, they got it together. And here we are on a five-game heater in like the perfect time to be hot down the stretch right now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think having a winning streak could have been timed better for the Sens. Like the fact that they're playing this good during not only during a playoff push, conference teams that like beating them only increases like making them. So I just think that it's even with the little bit of the bumps in the middle of the game, it was thankfully smooth sailing all the way through.
Yeah, sorry, you were a bit choppy there, but I think I caught your drift. So like the first period, the team came out flying. The score was 4-1 after the first, and like once the Sens score first, right? In the past, in the past couple of years, whenever the Sens have had a lead in the first period, I've felt very unconfident in their ability to play defense as well as their goaltending. But this team is different. The core is growing up. They're learning how to win games the proper way, and you're seeing that in the standings right now. But, when the Sens score the first goal, and as well when it's Shane Pinto, you have to kind of double down on feeling, and also playing on home ice, you got to feel pretty good about that. Can you talk about that Pinto goal just to start the game out? Because the Sens came out flying. I think the shots were 7-0 at that point. And the Bruins, yes, they have a very depleted roster right now, but you got to be pretty happy with a Pinto goal, and he's showing his worth on this team.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing Shane Pinto's kind of proven himself to be, is not only obviously a good two-way center, but he seems to have a kind of like not necessarily a one-timer zone, but like that same area that you normally see Shane Pinto on the power play, he seems to be very comfortable in even on 5-on-5, which is kind of that like right of like the right dot, but very much like not towards the top of it, I guess, but kind of closer towards the middle and or the bottom.
Yeah.
Like this goal, for example, it was a forecheck from Greg and Amadio, and that line has been a great third line for forechecking and getting points just from time to time. It's been great for that purpose. Greg and Amadio are forechecking. They get the puck. They kind of move it along the corner. And though there is the temptation you can see from Greg, who collects it to rim it around and get it to the defenseman for like either a point shot or moving it from side to side, what ends up happening is that he throws it to Pinto, and Pinto just basically as fast as he can just throws it on net. And it's not necessarily a great shot, but I think the speed of it is really what Pinto is good at. He's good at getting the shot off so fast that goalies and especially with traffic don't have a good time to react to it. He often uses the enemy's defensemen as screeners, and in this way he got it like short side. I'm not sure whether it went under the glove or over the shoulder or whatever, but it snuck through. And as we know from this year in particular, that first goal has been a great sign. We're still the best team, I think, of the NHL when it comes to scoring first and winning, which is crazy to say, considering how bad the last few years were in terms of like losing leads and inconsistent goaltending and bad defense. So it's just so nice to see Pinto playing good, the third line playing great, and obviously the first goal, which has been such a nice sign of confidence this year.
And yeah, like people have been calling for Zetterlund to jump up in the top 9 or top 6 somewhere. But what I'm saying is, like, this is good. Like the lines and what they are, this team is winning games. You can't switch up anything. Everyone is healthy. That's the key. Like, I don't think a lot of people are talking about that right now. This team is fully healthy, except I guess Hamonic, I think, is technically injured, but
yeah, but I know he's technically scratched when you look at the game notes. But yeah, I think he's still. I think he's one of those like injuries where it's not official, but he's healing up, and I really hope. I really hope though that this run of form, like Green sees that like they're playing good without him. Now, if they throw him back in because of an injury, obviously that's a different circumstance. Like if one of our right defensemen goes down, But as long as everyone on this team continues to stay healthy, Hamnick should stay in, and I don't think the forward lines should like the forward lines themselves might be able to change, but like keep the forward group the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's dive into the next goal, which came in about 6 minutes later. The puck kind of rims around Matt and Paolo. I think banks it off the behind the net, or he rims it around, I believe. And then it goes to his D partner in Tyler Klevin. And what a shot! I've been waiting for that.
Yeah.
He had a nice goal against San Jose. I remember for his first goal there. There's a possibility at one point in his career, depending on how good he gets in the NHL, that Tyler Klevin can hit double digits in goals. Like, he has a great shot that I think isn't utilized as much, but I kind of get it because he's a rookie defenseman and he's playing 15 minutes a night, right? And he's not used to the offensive zone like that. But what a shot. I've liked Klevin for the most part this year. I'm just happy this has turned out to be like a legit needed NHL defenseman who's big, and he's not gonna score a lot, but we kind of knew that, and I think the offensive game is going to improve there. What a shot from Klev. He's only going to get better from here too.
Yeah, and I'm also added thing as well. I bet it's the first point for Matt and Paolo.
It is, yeah,
on that play, which is crazy considering I mean, it makes sense considering Matt and Paolo earlier in the year wasn't even a consideration for the top six. It only wasn't until like halfway through the season with injuries that he got some rotations, and then I think Five Nations really made the whole coaching staff realize, okay, we can put him in consistently, and if he gets his time, he'll get better. And even though this wasn't an intentional pass, obviously it was a shot I think it was a shot for a tip, or either way, a rim around the boards. But yeah, if there's one thing that Klevin will have just because of his size, is that slap shot ability where you put so much weight behind it. We know some of the best people in the league with slap shots are people who are taller and heavier, just because they can put more weight on stick and obviously more weight into the shot. And it's usually defensemen because they're taller and they're built like tree trunks, right? So they can usually get a lot of power into the shots. Now, accuracy is a different thing, right?
Yeah.
That's a different thing entirely. So, obviously, with Klevin, you can still tell that he's a rookie whenever you watch him game to game, but you can also clearly tell he's getting better and he's getting more confident. Now, he's not mistake-proof. He's obviously had some moments where he bubbles a puck, but thankfully, it hasn't really led to, like, goals against. It's just been, like, you notice it, and it gets recovered. And it's just nice to see that he's getting more comfortable. I think if anything, this goal is just a sign that he's getting more comfortable at the NHL level.
Yep. And I didn't realize that's actually back-to-back goals for Klevin this season, because he scored last game.
Yeah, he scored last game as well, yeah.
From the same spot. A little bit of different goal, obviously. It was like on the blue line, and he just took a flutter.
This one was a better one.
Yes, definitely.
This one was a better one.
But yeah, Klevin is, oh my God. We talked about that left side for so many years with Chabot, Sanderson, and Klevin, and it's here now. You got two studs on the left side.
It's actually come to fruition.
Yeah, and like they're winning hockey. It's not like, oh yeah, we're 25, 35, and 5 right now, and everyone's young, and we'll be good in 2 years. No, we're good right now, and we needed this. So a quick goal from the Bruins coming back the other way. I think that was, like 2 minutes later, Casey Middlestat gets his first for the Bruins, makes it 2-1 for the Sens. And then I go off and I get my hair cut, so I miss the end of the first period. I think you saw these goals, however, and yes, I saw the highlights. I could talk about them, yeah, go ahead.
Obviously the Middlestat goal, first of all, I won't talk about it super in detail. It just seems to be that one of their recent problems over this winning streak, it seems to be clearances. They're having a tough time sometimes along the boards, winning those board battles and getting some sort of clear way out. Like even an icing obviously would be better in this circumstance. And not to mention there were 2 goals they conceded today, which were like lost in front of lost net front battles. And that's something that has been a consistent problem, unfortunately, with this team. Now, it didn't bite them, thankfully, this game, but it is something that they should point to and be like, we need to be stronger in front of the net. And it is something they've improved on, even with the game today. And it's just something that it happens once in a while. You lose coverage, and Middlestat had a good tip in front, which led to that first goal. But then the next 2 goals were like, as soon as that goal happened for Middlestat to make it 2-1, it's like the Sens were like, no, we're not letting you back into this.
Yeah.
They had a really good dominant stretch. They drew a power play, and on that power play, it actually might have been the power play after. No, they drew a 4-on-4,
Yeah.
which nothing happened on. But then they drew a power play right afterwards. And it was one of those ideal passing plays we've seen like 2 or 3 years ago with the power play, where it's Kachuk in front, but he's allowed to kind of almost bend, almost like if you were to draw like a U in front of the goalie, like he could bend either direction, usually towards our right side, because he's I believe left-handed, so he could throw it easily across net, and that's what he did. It was a pretty straightforward play. It was, I believe it was Sanderson to Kachuk, and then Kachuk immediately crossed to Batherson. It was pretty far away, but it was still a fast enough a release where Swayman couldn't get all of it, and that was a nice power play one-timer. Not to mention Dylan Cousins on the ice for the goal, so it's a plus for him. And then just 22 seconds later, there was a bit of a break where it was basically a 1-4 check. It was Greg and a Bruins player. Greg so goes around, and then a shot from, I think it was from Zub, it might have been Pinto, but a shot goes in front, hits either a Bruins player or Swayman, but it bounces, so it's loose in front, and Greg kind of knocks it to his left and then hits it in the open net. So it was Greg playing cleanup, which is great, because Greg's been really good at net front stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Offensively. So that's what led to the 4-1 game at the end of the first, and like, it's always a bit of a jinx to say like you could turn the game off there and they'll win, but with how the Sens have played this year, I think you're pretty confident in just that first period alone. Should be able to come out of this with at least a point.
Yeah, and you know what I love about the power play now is because the thing is that unit. So you go back to the first unit with Timmy on the left, Chabot or Sanderson at the top, both lefties. You got Norris on the right on the flank. You have Batherson kind of down low in the slot, and then same thing with Brady. That was becoming too predictable. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's a tough truth, but Josh Norris, I don't think we needed to trade him because good player. Unfortunately, though, you got to factor in the injury history and then as well as the cap hit, and people were kind of understanding that, okay, this guy has a great shot on that half wall. We need to cover him. And then he was on the first unit, and then he got injured, and then he came back, and then he was on the second unit, and then they put Stützle on the right, and then Giroux on the left. And the issue there is that both of them just love passing the puck. Like, oh my God, they don't shoot enough.
Yeah.
And now on the power play, Drake Batherson is a little bit more of a shooter than Giroux, and Cousins and Batherson are sort of switching on the half wall on the left side as both right shots. Cousins, like, he's always kind of been a guy in the slot for the most part, but these are talented hockey players. They can play on the half wall. They can set up plays. Drake Batherson played the half wall, I think, in the first year, in the COVID year, and then he also played it in Belleville. So it's not like this guy is like a guy that's going to be in the slot in front of the net. Like, he has insane skill. And being on that left side, it's going to force him to shoot more because this guy needs to put more pucks in the back of the net, and he did tonight. So I like that setup. And also Timmy on the right side just helps the flow of the power play work so much better.
There's so much more movement.
Exactly.
It's so much less stagnant. Like, which I feel like was another big reason why it was a lot more readable, like kind of as you mentioned. I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
Not that, like, as soon as people realized that Josh Norris's one role on the power play was basically either to do a cross ice pass or to do a one-timer, it just made the whole power play, even how much you change every other piece doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know one player is doing one thing or one of two things, and that already makes it a lot more readable for the opponents. Well, now with Cousins in the middle as well, because I noticed that he's been getting a lot of that like bumper slot time, and Timmy on the right, it just makes it where there's a lot more movement, and that movement makes it more unpredictable.
Exactly.
Because having Timmy on the left, I feel like discouraged him from shooting the puck too.
Yeah, like last year he had 0 power play goals, right? And I think
it was definitely under 2. Like,
I think
a disgraceful amount for your top center.
Yeah, definitely. And you go back to their power play in the 23 season, I think they were 5th, and they had to break it on the left side, and then Timmy on the right. So there you go, right? Timmy's just, there are some players who can maybe, be on their strong side and use that well, but Timmy is not one of them, at least maybe at this point of his career. Like, the power play is not bad.
Yeah.
Power play is not bad. Just to start off, like the power play's been good for the most part this year. I just think this adds a little bit more of an element, and it throws off the penalty kill for the opposition a little bit more. But yeah, that's all I got for the power play at least. I kind of want to mention that because Cousins, I was wondering how they were going to disperse the power play units, especially with Cousins coming in. And I like what they're doing though, because I think Giroux at this point of his career is a good guy to have on your second unit and leading the charge there. And they got two good units. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Do you have anything else? If not, I'm going to head in to the second.
No. Only quick thing I would say is the power play this year has been very streaky. There's been a lot of times where it's been really good. There's been a lot of times where it's really bad. And I don't think it's a coincidence that usually coincides with the winning streaks and losing streaks the team has had. And it just happens to be that on this winning streak, the power play is good. And I feel like while the streakiness beforehand was usually dependent on whether someone was shooting really well or not, I feel like this time around it's very much focused on the fact that Cousins has kind of, well, not Cousins alone, but like the rearrangement of the power plays because of the trades has unlocked more of variability. Or variability, sorry. It allows the team to do more. And it makes it hard to read, and therefore it's doing better. Now, is it unreadable? No, I feel like they could obviously still be doing better, but so far there's nothing to complain about. The power play led them to a victory recently, and it was not the reason we won this game, but it was good. We scored one of our two, so nothing to complain about.
Yeah, you'll take it. Okay, let's enter the second period here, where the Bruins definitely had a bigger push. I missed most of this period except for the last 5 minutes, but the Bruins outshoot the Sens 13-10. And outscore them in the period 2-1. So the Bruins make it 4-2 from a goal from David Pastrnak. I missed this goal, and then Drake Batherson, I saw the highlight. And then
I would argue that the Pastrnak goal was one of the worst, or the worst.
It? Okay.
Out of the three, but
yeah. I mean Pastrnak has been a Sens killer.
It's a failed clearance and lost coverage.
There you go. I mean
he has been. I mean, an everyone killer.
Yeah. Ovi,
Pastrnak.
But yeah, sorry, we're having a little
it's
bit of
just
lag.
For this goal in particular. Yeah. I'm not sure why. It's weird because my connection seems to be fine, but I think it's just the fact that we're connecting together. Maybe. It might be also because we're, you're in a different time zone than I am, so it also might be the distance. But at least for this play, it was Ullmark and Sanderson getting a bit confused on who should get the puck behind the net. Ullmark ends up clearing it, but doesn't get enough power on it because of the delay between them. And in doing so, especially because Sanderson was focused on, okay, do I get this puck or not? He gets lost in coverage. Zub doesn't cover his man either. And Pastrnak kind of just like glides in front of the net. And you can just see Sanderson and Zub just neither of them have any idea Pastrnak is there, which is really bad. Because if there's one person offensively, you should always know where he is. It's Pastrnak. And he just tips it in. But that's the second goal of the game for Bruins, and both of them are net front tips that probably could have been easily avoided if the Sens... in this case, it was communication. The last one, it was just a lost board battle and failed clearances. So very annoying, but also something that can be very easily fixed. So it's kind of that mix of like, if you don't do this again, we're not going to be mad at you, but if we see this again, we know it's a problem and a trend. So we'll keep an eye on that. But then like a decent amount of time afterwards, there was our second Drake Batherson goal of the game. So that was pretty nice because it wasn't, again, it's in a similar vein to the Pinto and Greg goals. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't an outstanding play by anyone in particular, but it was the player who scored just being, doing their job to their best. Greg being the net front presence on his goal, Pinto being a very quick shooter on his goal, and then Batherson second in this case being a tipped shot, goes wide, but it gets a favorable bounce where it bounces basically very close to the net on the right side, and Batherson being right-handed, just as fast as he can, gets to it and flings it up over I'm not sure if it was the glove or blocker, but over the goalie's like kind of their right shoulder, and it goes in. And it's very much like a Johnny on the spot kind of goal. Yeah. But it was one of those things where just as the Bruins scored a net front goal that probably could have been avoided, the Sens did the exact same thing, because if there's one thing the Bruins are right now, it's a team that is disappointed for what we expected them to be this year. And it seems like they're having a couple of the same issues defensively as the Sens have, at least in this game in terms of net front problems. And the Sens exploited it, and it was lucky, but it was also Drake Batherson being the right spot at the right time.
And we need more goals like that too. We need guys to go in front of the net because on that losing streak, they were just trying to make the perfect play, like perimeter play, looking for one timer.
Yes.
The thing is, no one was shooting the puck, so it's like you can pass it around as much as you want, but if no one's actually putting the net, like it's not going to go in. So in Batherson, like this guy, he plays. No, I'm not going to say he plays soft, but he is a bigger guy. And he's not like a Brady Kachuk who's just like a bulldog out there, right? But he's
not a homewrecker.
No, yeah, he can hit. He hits, and but he's got crazy finesse for a big guy. So I would like him to just maybe a little bit more goals out front, just a little bit. But he's been kind of in a slump recently. The last goal there, I also missed that one. Marat Konstantinov, I think is how you say his name. The new addition from the Minnesota.
One of their recent acquisitions from the trade, yeah. But I think you got it right, yeah, for the pronunciation.
So he makes it 5-3 Sens. But what did you see on that play?
It was probably the most egregious defensive mistake. Like,
it was
I was talking about the. This was a tough because it technically was a breakaway. So you'd like Ullmark to save it. That was probably the one you'd like him to save the most out of the three that were faced. But in reality, this goal, if you were to point to one person's mistake, I would very much point to Matt Palo, which is a shame because he also got his first goal of the game today. Or sorry, first point of his Sens career today.
Yeah.
He very much has Lindholm like tracked, and he kind of pinches in. So Klevin and him are basically like standing beside each other. But then all Lindholm does is slightly pass it back towards Konstantinov, and because of their positioning, he can just kind of skate around them.
Okay.
So I understand that Matt Palo's job is to try and cover Elias Lindholm, but he kind of gets pulled and leaves the entire right side open. I won't be able to pronounce it. Marat skates in on the position and gets the breakaway goal. And yes, that's definitely the most like Ullmark you want to save that, but it's also a breakaway. You had the three goals the Sens conceded today were net front goal, and breakaway, where both the net front goals were very evidently like near impossible to save because of like how good of a position the Bruins player was in. So that's.
But the thing is, I actually thought he also. Like, I was kind of 50-50, right? I was like, oh, okay. I was kind of 50-50, right? I was like, oh, okay. Damn, he just allowed that goal to go in. But then also, because you couldn't really tell like where the puck was, I also had a really good feeling that he actually caught that because of the amount of great saves he made just last game that he played against Detroit. So he catches it like, and the way he dove across, like he was so out of position. Like you saw him when he caught the so out of position. Like you saw him when he caught the puck,
full both hands. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was the turning point of the game. Like you kind of knew that the game was going to be a win at that point because the Bruins were pressing. The Bruins were pressing, and we were a bit nervous, right? But my goodness, Linus Ullmark, like this is why you paid the man. This is
the confidence.
Yeah, Jonas Korpisalo is not making that save. Cam Talbot is not. Matt Murray, Philip Gustafsson, they're not making that save. Like Linus Ullmark is that guy that adds that little extra layer that can win these hockey games for the Sens.
Yeah, it was. By far, in retrospect, that was the turning point of the game. I mean, it's crazy to say considering they scored 4 goals in the first period. Sure. I mean, you could pretty much argue the end of the first as being a turning point. But no, like that very much was like as soon as Ullmark made that save, I think everyone in Ottawa realized, okay, we're not losing.
Yeah.
Like because I guarantee you, some of the players on the bench, no matter how confident they were on Ullmark performing better, were like, okay, I really hope this isn't one of those games where our goaltending lets us down, like a bunch of them have experienced in recent years. And then as soon as Ullmark makes that save, their worries are gone.
Yeah.
They know, like, okay, Ullmark's got us. We can just basically play like completely normal, neutral defensive hockey, and we'll be fine. And that's exactly what they did for the third period. The third period was boring, but it's the boring you want.
Yes. Give me the boring. If you get me the 2 points, then I'm okay with that. And especially against the Bruins, where they get 0 tonight, and we'll touch on the out of town scoreboard. But yeah, like 8 shots for the Bruins. There was one great chance. Sorry, I'm blanking right now. In the third period, where Ullmark made a good save. Well, there was a sequence there towards the end, around 5.
Was it on a?
They got a
I'm
couple
struggling
great
to
ones.
remember.
Yeah, like they're kind of just all
Yes,
blending
but
together.
obviously
Yeah,
Allmark still handled it.
that's why you pay him, and that's why you need a star goalie. Thank you, Steve Stais, for fleecing the Boston Bruins, who they played tonight with that trade.
Yeah, dude. In retrospect,
Yeah,
that save is like I made a promise to myself, and I'm gonna say it live on stream so everyone knows I'm not joking about it. Mark leads the Sens to the playoffs this year, whether he's good or not. Like whether he leads the Sens to the playoffs this year. And I guess the only caveat I had in my mind is if he's not like injured for the whole year, like if he plays the majority of games
yeah.
and he leads the Sens to the playoffs. I have a blank reverse retro jersey that I will put Allmark on the back
There you
of.
go.
Now I'm not sure whether it'll still be possible because I would need the reverse retro lettering, which might be tough to get. But I feel pretty confident that I'll be able to do that. I think the Sens still might have the lettering like at the Sens store at the arena because a lot of people probably still have those reverse retro jerseys from last year. We'll see. But so far, it's looking good. It looks like I'm gonna have to get Hallmark on the back of my jersey, which
Yeah.
I'm fine with because so far the only two jerseys that I have that aren't that one that have like names on the back are Carlson and Sanderson. So two defensemen. So
Yep.
getting a goalie will be nice.
And we're not. Allmark's not going anywhere, so he's got 4 more years after this one. And
Yeah, no, not with that contract.
yeah,
Whether we wanted him to or not. In
yeah.
this case, we don't. But yeah, he's not really going
And
anywhere.
thank goodness he signs before the season, because I would wonder how much he'd be worth right now as a goaltender on the free agent
Uh-huh.
market. But I mean, $8 million seems pretty fair, I think, from both sides.
I
Okay.
yeah, I feel like just the pedigree on its own would make it around 8. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So the Sens come out with a 6-3 win. Claude Giroux puts the last. Damn, this team sucks at scoring empty net goals. I will say they had like 4 chances and they could not bury
Yeah,
it.
but
Oh my god.
in this game, it's not a big deal because you're up by 2.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, like if it was an up by 1 game and you're still missing these open net chances, I think it's a little bit more frustrating as a fan. But if you're up by 2 and the 6-on-5 from the
Oh,
other
yeah.
team is like true, like this is our only hope of even trying to get back in the game. It's not as bad if you miss those open nets. But
Yeah.
in the end, hey, they still did score an open netter. It's not like the past couple of games where they had open nets and they don't score.
Yeah, but they had
So
like
that was nice.
They had like 4 minutes to get it done. They like scored with what, like 30 seconds left. I mean, whatever.
I'm minute 30.
Sure,
I'm minute
okay,
30.
okay.
So not a lot, yeah.
But I'm watching. I'm like laughing, but I'm also just like I'm not mad whatsoever because this team is like literally good. Okay, before we head into period 2, where we're gonna talk about the lines a little bit, because I mean we're nitpicking so hard with the lines, but your player of the game for the Sens, yeah, your player of the game. I was gonna say like take away the 3 stars, I guess. You know,
I
like,
mean, even taking away the three stars, I think the player of this game is a no-brainer. I mean, it's Drake Batherson. This is how Drake Batherson is supposed to be. It's a shame we haven't seen him like this for a little bit, just because he's been kind of on a goal-scoring drought recently. I think the last goal he scored was like early February. It was like February 3rd or something. I think it was against Tampa before
Yeah.
the Four Nations break.
that would have been it. That's a
So
while ago.
yeah. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like it's been a while since Drake Batherson has scored, and seeing him not only he scored twice and he got an assist, and he just overall looked really good this game. He was good forechecking. He was solid defensively. He did everything he needed to do, and he got rewarded for it. So if we were to pick one player, I think it's safe to say Drake Batherson, and I also would like to say a small shout out to Dylan Cousins. He was the only player on the Sens who finishes a +3. And I feel like his play has rejuvenated Batherson's play driving. I feel like the fact that Batherson doesn't have to be the play driver anymore on that line, it makes it so much easier now that Cousins can kind of take that load off of him and allow Batherson to be a little bit more of an off-puck sniper, as well as someone who can focus more on forechecking and getting the puck to his defenseman. And he doesn't have to be the guy who gets the puck right back to set up a play. Like, he can give it to Cousins. They can give it to Sanderson or Shabbat, obviously. But it's just the Cousins trade has made Batherson better so far. And this game was a great example of that.
They didn't necessarily need the rejuvenation because they were going to be regardless, like Norris and Batherson as like a secondary option. But Batherson,
Yeah.
I think if we want to get him going, that trade was needed. Like on the
Yes. Yeah.
ice in particular. But okay, we're pushing 30 minutes here, so we got to head into period two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just want to talk about Hyperdrive Hockey. So that is our, I guess, our podcast here on Game Over Network. It is on Tuesdays, Fridays, and is on YouTube and all platforms. So please go check that out. It's hosted by Max, Daphne, and Kevin. And it's a little bit of a Quebecois flavor as well. They talk about all things around the NHL, so please go check that out. Okay, let's head into period number 2. And we're going to talk about the lines a little bit here. And I think there's a lot of people saying, Zetterlund, put him in the top 6. Play him with Tim Stützle. Play him with, like, Cousins. And why is Cousins getting top 6 treatment and Zetterlund's not? This is a great problem to have, because what have we said about the Sens so many times over the years is that they don't have depth. They don't, like, they've got the players, they got the talent, they got Tim Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, Josh Norris before Drake Batherson, and then there's that drop off. You got Pinto, Greg, who like are still young in the league, but now you got like Fabian Zetterlund, a 26-year-old guy who's probably going to hit 20 goals this year on your fourth line. And the guys above him, you could put in David Perron and Michael Amadio, who are additions from this offseason, have been playing their best hockey as of late. So, no, don't switch anything up, because this team is scoring goals, and they're already like one of the better teams defensively. Michael Amadio picks up another point today. He's kind of hot right now in a way. And that third line is like defensive, and I don't think Zetterlund's like necessarily the best defensive player in the world. Amadio is good with his stick, and he is arguably like one of the smarter forwards on the roster. So
yeah, for sure.
Like, you can't switch anything up really whatsoever, even the defense core. Right?
Yeah, even the defense, yeah.
So
The one thing I would definitely... Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I definitely think that the one change I would consider, and the caveat for this was that obviously injuries, if they happen, those will lead to lineup changes where Zetterlund will likely move up the lineup on just by default.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I feel like the only changes you could make with this, where I could see it working out, is that if you're playing Zetterlund on the right, which they are right now, you would move him up to the first. So it'd be Tkachuk, Stützle, Zetterlund.
Okay.
Then on the second, you would have Giroux on the left. So it'd be Giroux, Cousins, Batherson.
Nice.
Then on the third, you would have I think you would change one thing, which you would have, I think it'd be, I'm just trying to remember. Sorry, it's but I'm just trying to think of how I think I'd position it. I think I would keep. I'm not sure whether you'd be comfortable with it. I would try Greg on the right, so it'd be Perron, Pinto, Greg, and then you put Amadio on the fourth line, and you have Highmore, Gaudette, Amadio.
And Amadio's scoring, so you can't do that.
No, I agree, which is like, I don't think you should change it right now. Like, I do think that Zetterlund deserves more time, but two things can be true. Zetterlund deserves more time. You shouldn't change the roster because they're playing great right now. Both things can be true. And I feel like with injuries, Zetterlund will get bumped up on his own, and we know that as the season drags on and the Sens are going to be fighting hard for that last playoff spot, there's a chance. But also, if they stay healthy, that'd be perfect. And not to mention, Zetterlund is getting power play time. Yes. So even though he is the fourth line right wing, he's kind of getting that Gaudette treatment, where he's being pushed up the lineup on special teams, even though his place in the lineup on regular numbers is low. And that's part of the reason why he didn't have a lot of game time today. He finished with no stats effectively, like 0-0-0, but also ±0, so he wasn't a problem on the ice, obviously. And we only had the 2 power plays, right? So it wasn't like it was a lot of opportunity for him to do anything on the power play. And it is also nice to have that guy who can be a notable factor. Obviously, he's already had a couple of good chances, though he hasn't scored on them. He was part of one of the key plays that led to a goal not too long ago. He didn't get the assist for it, but he basically won the forecheck, which led to a goal earlier. So I just feel like, aside from the mix-up I said, where you move Zetterlund to the top line, Giroux to the second line, Perron to the third line, and then Amadio to the fourth, I feel like that's the only way I would imagine it, where it's like you can get him some better time without putting people, I think, too far down the lineup. But I would only do that, barring injury. Obviously, I would only
Yeah.
do that if they start losing.
Yeah. No, you got to go
So
on like a
as long as they
terrific
keep winning,
losing streak. Yeah.
keep him exactly as it is, and then the only swap I would even remotely consider is I don't think it'd be too like I don't think you'd be pissing or pissing off or making too much of a problem for Greg if you moved him to the fourth line for a game or two and then moved him back. But also, I don't feel like you should punish him because he scored again today and he's been great. He's been like that whole third line has been really impressive. And David Perron's obviously been stepping up his game on the second line as well with Cousins hopping in. So keep it the same. I don't think we need to talk about the lines too much more after this.
No.
It's keep it the same, but for those who expect to see Zetterlund more, you will. Not yet, but you will.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering about kind of next year, right? Because Giroux is a free agent. Okay, he's a free agent. There's a possibility the dude leaves, and if he does,
Or retires too. We haven't heard anything about it, obviously, but he
yeah,
could also just retire.
he doesn't strike me as a guy that would retire right now. But I think in case, let's say Giroux like leaves and he goes to Florida or whatever, Zetterlund's right there. He is or he's not under contract, but he's an RFA. So that's kind of your, I guess, sort of your backup plan. Like he can probably, you can test him out, give him like a 3-year deal at $4.5 million, something like that. Stick him with Timmy Stu and Brady Kachuk, and that could be a good line. If not, I'm not sure where you go from there, but you know what? Like, I do not care whatsoever if we are winning hockey games and he wants to leave. Sure. Go try and find roster spot somewhere else. But that is like that's the worst case scenario. You know. So the D pairs are good. Everyone's healthy. This is a great time to be a Sens fan because you saw how like when this team can show winning hockey, this crowd can get into it. It's just that we've had so many years of sucking that it's so easy to deplete the fan base. And ever since this new ownership has come in, things have been pretty, like, there's been a couple blunders in there when you look at, like, the Quebec City thing, which was just funny to look back on.
It didn't end up making a difference.
No.
I remember I even pointed it out on the on Hyperdrive Hockey when I talked on once, basically how, like, it's something that could either really shift the mentality of the team or it's something we forget about in a week. It ended up being something we forgot about in a week. So kudos to the org. They kind of proved themselves different than previous years, which is nice.
Yeah, and we're pressed up against the cap. We have a general manager who I kind of want to talk a little bit about today, but at the same time, I feel like that's an off-season discussion. But we have a general manager who has really done pretty well for the most part in regards to trades. I mean, the worst one that I can think of is maybe like the Joseph trade, giving up him and a third round pick. But I checked his stats. Joseph is not doing well with the St. Louis Blues.
He hasn't.
He's
like I think unfortunately his time with the Sens was what's the word I'm looking for? It was a sign of what was to come. Unfortunately for Joseph, like he was stagnating. Performed really highly. It was pretty evidently an outlier in retrospect. All respect to the guy, though. I loved his personality. I loved the way he played, especially at his best. But there ended up being better bottom six choices.
Definitely,
and which was funny too, because for a long time in the year, we thought Amadio and Perron were kind of non-factors in the team. Perron more so than Amadio. Amadio, at least, he was still good defensively, even when he wasn't putting up points. But everyone was like, okay, well, you kind of got rid of some bottom six players who we knew could contribute offensively, at least in our system. And Amadio and Perron weren't doing that. But I think part of the reason why Steos got them, and we're seeing it now, is they're experienced players who are used to the runs up to and including the playoffs.
Yep.
I don't think it's a coincidence that they're playing their best hockey in March when the team is very much fighting for a playoff spot. I think they know that mentally. They know they need to step up their game, and they know the benefits it can bring to their team, not just now but in the future if they do well. So, full kudos to them. Yeah, and full kudos to Steos for getting them.
Yeah, for sure. Just as my last point, maybe for like the line touching and stuff. I forgot. Nick Cousins is actually injured right now, so he's.
Yes, sorry, we're not fully healthy.
But like that's a fourth liner, you know.
Yeah, he would swap out for Highmore, and that'd be the only
Exactly.
difference. And I feel like it would be an improvement too. So you could even argue that the Sens are not even at full strength.
Yeah.
They could be better with Cousins on their fourth line.
Yeah. Two Cousins on the team. That's going to be a nightmare for the TSN commentators and everything. But this is a great problem to have, and this is the thing is with the Sens in the past that they've had like these flashy top sixes, but then the bottom six has just been like a young guy, and then like Mark Kastelik, Austin Watson, Parker Kelly. I mean, no hate to them, but not guys you want to be playing 13, 14 minutes per night. That's for sure. I would add, like, Adam Gaudette, I would like to bring back, but I would like him to be extra. Because we need a PKer. Yeah. Because you go, let's say you have Ridley Gregg, Shane Pinto as your first unit. You have Claude Giroux, and then you had Josh Norris before, but he's not there anymore. Dylan Cousins is not, I don't know too much about his PK.
He could grow into it, but right now I think it's safe to say he's not.
Yeah, so then you have Amadio as 4. So, I mean, that's already fine, but I would like to get like a fourth line center who can kill penalties for the offseason.
And if there's one thing I've been really impressed with Gaudette with, even though he's not been at like every game, I remember that throughout his career when he was previously with the Sens, as well as watching him in other places as well, he was kind of a more offensively minded player, and it obviously showed with how many goals he scored for the Sens this year. But he's been really good defensively, like surprisingly good defensively, and I think he's been rewarded for it. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't bring him back as either a extra forward or as a fourth liner. I feel like he's earned it with the way he played this year. It's a shame that he didn't hit like the 40 goal, 40 like goals. The pace he was on. Goals. Yeah, well, with the pace because he was scored so many so early on. Everyone was hoping that he just suddenly turned into like Braden Point just for 1 year, and then he immediately goes back to the normal. But no, I just feel like he's definitely earned his merit as an NHLer this year with how he's played. And while he hasn't been performing offensively, like I'm pretty sure they even talked about it to the coaching staff and stuff. Like Gaudette has been a key factor as to why their depth is good. Yeah. Not because he's scoring a lot like he used to, but he's someone who can produce offensively, and his defensive game has gotten a lot better. So kudos to him. I really hope I see him again next year.
Yeah, I hope he gets like a 1-year deal at like $1.1 million.
Or even like 2. Just give him 2 years, but like a cheap deal, no fancy stuff.
Yeah, just the only issue is that if you want your $2 million player on the sidelines sort of thing. Like I wouldn't have this.
No, I'm not saying $2 million, I'm just saying 2-year contract.
Oh, I see, yeah. 2 years by 1. Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just something something cheap, but something also where you're willing to like show him a little bit more like not respect, but like you earned it.
Yeah, for sure. And
the same way that Greg earned his contract.
Yeah, and then also like your head coach is Travis Green, who has been your corner. So like,
so it helps.
And right now, like the Sens are pretty good cap space for next year. They got to sign Giroux, but it's like I don't think he's going to get more than 6.5. If he comes back,
I'm curious to see what he wants. Yeah, I think it'd be safe to say that at this point it'd be crazy for him to ask more than what he's getting right now. But at the same time, I would totally understand if he wants to test the market and get his bag before he's done.
Yeah.
Like he served his purpose, and it's a shame that he might only see 1 playoff run with the Sens when he potentially could have had 2. But I think it's also been like he's filled in exactly what people wanted for him to do. And the experience he's taught these players has been crucial in their development. And if he goes, that just gives the Sens more option to sign someone in free agency. Yeah. And if they make the playoffs, that makes him more of a target. No, I wouldn't want him. He's a good player. I wouldn't want him.
Right winger.
Kills penalties. I know. Honestly, the problem with this free agency market, it's not going to be like amazing. A lot of the biggest targets have already signed. So we'll see what happens. I feel like maybe trading would be cool. Like if you make the playoffs this year, and let's just say you have a good run, like you don't go out in the first round, which would be crazy because they're going to be facing a good team, with the way things shake out. But let's just say they upset Washington, right? Or they beat the Leafs, which would be amazing. But they get past the first round, they go to the next round, they lose, right? To whoever. I feel like that is enough proof with how the team's trajectory is, even though I know progression isn't it's not always a curved line. It
Not linear.
sometimes can go up and down. I feel like there's enough with what they've learned where they can try a big trade. Not a big trade, not in the
Hmm.
sense of like trading for Rantanen like Carolina did, but going for a player on an like going for a player on a lesser team that
Hmm.
wants out and trying to get them to fill in that top six,
Yeah.
or just going for anyone that
Crazy.
fits well in our top six. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it will help. You know what? I'm not even gonna say that. I'm not. Well,
Yeah,
let's cut
I
to
think this is
playoffs.
far enough away where
Yeah,
we can leave it be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not be. We have been delusional in the past. Summer 2022, and
Yes.
I boldly said that the Sens would be second in the division last year because I was sick of losing, and I have shut up since. So, I'm done. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's head into the third period because we're on 45 minutes right now. Just want to talk about our Patreon and our merch. If you would like to make a donation, head over to our Patreon as we are a startup here on Game Over. So if you have a couple spare bucks, we would more than appreciate it. As well as also please check out our merch. You could head over to our website. We have merch for every Canadian team available. And there are sales pretty much every single week that kind of shift. So please go check that out if you would like to support us as well. Okay. This is I want to bring this up today because we're kind of in the middle of the season. No, not the middle of the season, but we're 3 quarters through, and
Yeah,
we're
three
playing
quarters.
against Boston, and Linus Ullmark is at the peak of his popularity in Ottawa. That's for sure.
Yeah, peak
And
performance was in December.
yeah, sure. But popularity right now, the
Yeah,
fans are
popularity for sure.
chanting his name. People know him because like people are people on the streets are like talking about, oh, have you seen this Linus Ullmark guy? Like, would the Sens have a really good goalie in net? Like I remember like the last goalie we had was that was good was Craig Anderson. That was like almost 10 years ago, right? So you just have the
Yep.
casual fans out there that were kind of out of the rebuild. They're coming back now and they're understanding that okay, there's this new Swedish goalie who's signed and is great. Um,
The CTC is packed and
mhm.
fans are always chanting his name.
Yeah,
It's great to see.
that's good. And it was cool seeing the chants today because like people weren't saying like in the past people would say Andy, Andy, Andy. Now they're saying like all mark and they do this like clap after and it kind of reminds me a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
of
it's not the standard.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they it sounds like I don't know if you heard this too, but when you go to a European hockey game and they have these
Yes. Yeah.
chants, and I don't know if it's obviously not connected, but it's cool that it's like okay, our goalie is a Swedish guy, and you have this European sort of chant going on. I don't know if
Which
that.
fits because obviously he's
Yeah,
Swedish as
I'm
well.
wondering if he
Uh, but
thought of
uh,
that, but yeah.
I I know exactly what you're talking about because there was a chant that I used to sing to myself. It's a popular soccer slash
Hmm.
traditional football chant, which is whenever you're a fan of a bad team and you're losing. Let's just say you have an arena full of fans because your team is still like dedicated, right?
Yeah.
In football or in soccer, time to time you'll hear we lose every week. We lose every week. You're nothing special. We lose every week. I remember
That's what they
that
do, eh?
like
Oh
like
man.
that was the mentality of using it like for whenever the Sens were doing poorly,
Yeah.
and now that's never gonna be a problem, which is cool.
Yeah, because we're gonna keep winning. Like we're gonna win the cup. So,
Well, maybe we ease those
yeah, I
things, but we're
know.
definitely not losing every week,
I
which is
know.
good.
I mean, hey, we're gonna win every game at this rate, because
Yeah, with
like,
this at this pace.
yeah, like, okay, let's just talk about the trade though for a moment. Like, let's just take a glimpse back. It is 9 months ago. It is 30 minutes before Game 7 between the Oilers and the Florida
which
Panthers
is
in the
which is a
Stanley Cup
crazy
game.
thing that we can say until Olmark's out of here.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing that we can say that.
And then we forget, oh yeah, you can make trades now for teams that are out of the playoffs. And Steve Stais kind of like takes advantage of knowing that maybe Allmark's not going to sign in Boston because you got Swayman, who's the younger goaltender, and the Sens are starving for a starting goaltender who can play you 50 games and put up good numbers. Like I'm not talking about a guy
Yeah.
like Jonas Corposalo who has had one good season here and there. and you're kind of like making a bet. Like this is a guy who has one of the highest save percentages. I think he has the third highest since the COVID-19 season. So
Yeah.
you're like he's consistent, and you see it this year. I think he's around a 913 right now, which is very high compared to a lot of goaltenders. Because
Yeah, league average has gone down, scoring has gone up. So
Yeah.
like a 9, I would say a 915 right now is what like a 920 was a couple
Yeah.
of years ago.
Yeah, so he's like I don't know too much about goalie metrics and stuff like that, but if the save percentage is good, I'm happy. I don't care.
Yeah, it's definitely one way to look at it.
Yeah.
I know. They even mentioned on broadcast. I think it was in the last game where the Sens staff is a really big fan of goals saved above expected, which basically takes Corsi and like shot difficulty into account, and basically says like, okay, did you basically underperform, overperform? And Ullmark across his whole career and even this season is an overperformer, which is always a good sign. It's basically a sign of a good goalie. It's whenever they're like they might have an 875 in a game, but they overperformed because maybe they got completely shelled, right? And they still had like an 875, or vice versa. You could have a shutout, right? But you only faced like 10 shots.
Yeah.
So maybe your goal save as expected was like 0, right? Like flat, because you saved all the easy shots and you didn't really face any tough ones. So I think as of right now, I can check right now. Yeah, he's a 913. But it's also funny because his last 5 games he's a 914, so he's actually been above average in his last 5 games. But his last 10 games he was only a 902. So it's kind of like he's definitely been in this winning streak and a little bit before. He's kind of been not the same Ullmark we expected in December, but he's definitely not been the Ullmark we had earlier in the year where he really struggled. He's kind of been in this middle ground, which has still been fine because the Sens are a much improved defensive team. And as you're saying, looking back at this trade, I think it's safe to say that if the Sens make the playoffs and the Bruins don't, we fleeced them. I mean, things could get worse in the future. But I think that on its own, considering both teams were teams in theory that really wanted to make the playoffs and do well this year, the fact that this trade happened, the Swayman debacle happened, then the Bruins are played kind of mid basically most of this year, especially by comparison to previous years, and the Sens have improved so much. I think you can't call it anything but a big dub, especially because we got rid of the Corpusal contract. I don't care that we're retaining. Like, that on its own was a great move, and the fact that we didn't pay anything outside of what was it here, the full details.
We gave.
Because I'm looking at like an article for it. I need to find just the stats of just the move.
Well, because we traded Jonas Korpisalo, and then we traded Mark Kastelik, and then we also traded a first-round pick, which ended up being Dean Letourneau. Dean Letourneau,
Yeah, it was a late first rounder, yeah.
who is struggling very hard in the NCAA right now, and is because he's 6'7", he is a huge project and is like 5 years away from making the league if he makes it.
Yeah, so if anything, that just fits the Bruins' kind of rebuild.
Yep.
If they are starting to do a rebuild, I'm not sure whether they will. I mean, the signs in the trade deadline is they're kind of aware of it. They're not trying to just run it and see if it works. They're trying to see if they can retool or do like a short rebuild. But this was a win now move, this trade for the Sens, and it worked. And I'm just so glad that the Sens recognized a bad situation in Boston with the 2 goaltenders, the availability of Ullmark, and not to mention the fact that Ullmark wasn't a sure thing. Like, we can definitely say in retrospect he's a sure thing, but the thing with Ullmark is he's never played a full season. He was always part of the tandem with Swayman, and while he did win the Vezina, he didn't play he played a majority of the games, but he wasn't he didn't play, I think, more than 50. I think he played like 40 something, right? I think he basically played just over half.
Yeah.
So I just think it's one of those things where they made a gamble, but they were pretty confident in it, and in retrospect, it's worked pretty well. And I think it's also safe to say that Ullmark's issues this year were either due to poor defensive stretches or just him getting accustomed to the new playing style.
Yeah, because he was not good to start.
No, but then he had such a great December that everyone realized that, okay, this is the guy we traded for.
Yeah. He was
like that December immediately wiped away the worries.
Yeah,
and I think that even with some recent struggles, he's fine.
Yeah, he was 7-0-1, I think, with a 956 save percentage, which is insane.
With like 2 shutouts or something.
Yeah.
he was crazy.
And that's when the season really started to turn around.
Yeah, and even with the injury he had too, that would be, I think, a turning point in the year in any other year where the Sens would fall off.
Yeah.
And yet Marilainen and
Oh my
Forsberg too, because
God.
Forsberg played good stretch, but Merelainen was such a good find,
Hmm.
and the last gift of the Dorian era is Levi Merelainen, and I think it's great that we got him, and not to mention too, we just have him as a backup, and likely too, as something that we should have talked about just as a sentence in that previous thing about the lineups in the future. Forsberg's probably going to head out, and I don't think it's a worry at all for the team because now they have Merelainen. Now they don't have to worry as much about Forsberg being that solidified backup position. And while he's not making a lot, he's making 3.5 mil.
Hmm.
Merelainen's still on his rookie contract, so that's basically 3 mil that you just had, or
Yeah.
2.75 mil, but 2.75 mil that they didn't previously have.
Hmm.
If Giroux also goes, you have almost like 9, not mil, but 8 mil of cap space.
Hmm.
Boom, right there.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure also, I'm not sure whether it's Colin White or Bobby Ryan or whoever, but I'm pretty sure also some buyouts are coming off the books, which is even
Probably
more cap space.
Ryan. Probably Ryan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I think he's off the books
so
though by now.
so what I'm saying though is that next year there's a potential Sens could get some good players.
Yeah.
Now they have to pick the right ones, but yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I would. It's just sort of like a hot take in a way, but like I wouldn't mind bringing Forsberg back on like a 1 year deal at like if he wants a mil or like 900K, give him
I mean,
because he hasn't been
yeah,
horrible. Like
he's been a backup goalie. He's been a
yeah.
backup goalie this year.
Yeah, and I mean, because Marilyn, you just gotta like you see like Artur Seelofs, he is not doing well. I think in both leagues, and Marilyn's 22. You give I would say like give him a 2 year deal. Thing is, we can't forget Sogard. There our
Mhm.
6'8" goaltender who is just super inconsistent.
Yeah, I think at this point, Sogard, we need to keep him in the AHL
Yeah,
until he proves
yeah.
himself that he can fill in.
Like don't trade him. I would
And
say like Sogard
yeah,
is
keep him.
yeah, because you never know with big goalies. Like they just randomly become super good at like 26, and I don't think there might be a team out there that would claim him on waivers, but I wouldn't place a bet on it.
Mhm. And I just think it's safe enough to say that Leinen, in his short stint in both the AHL and the NHL, has already proven himself to be a more capable goalie than Sogard, and that's no offense to Sogard, just
Yeah,
Marilynen's been amazing.
it's true.
And another thing with Marilyn too is he's so young.
Hmm.
He's so young that if you get him into that backup role, that's my argument for not keeping Forsberg, just letting him go, and get like a decent backup contract elsewhere. You put Marilyn in your backup position with Ullmark, and you split kind of more like a tandem.
Hmm.
I think you could have yourself basically what Ullmark had with Swayman. And the
Yeah.
goal here is you develop Marilyn quick. Don't force him, right? Don't give him a majority of the games. Give Ullmark the majority of the games. But you do make it a tandem, which seems to be more of a need in kind of this NHL that we're in right now. And if you develop him right, you have a goalie in your system that is under 23
Yeah,
that you just
that's
have.
pretty nice.
That on its own is crazy. Not many teams have that.
No, yeah, and I mean, I guess for prospects after him, we're not doing so hot. But you know what? I don't like we don't care about that right now. And then sorry, I was just while I was on my phone here, I was just looking at Mark Kaslick's game log. So, in 63 games this year, he has
He
14
had a hot
points.
start, and he looks
Mhm.
solid.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
I
he looked
guess.
better than he did with the Sens, that's for sure.
But the thing is, so he had 5 points in his first 4 games with a 2 goal game and then a 3 assist
Yeah,
game.
he went off on fire.
And then he scored a goal like an assist a couple games later. So I think he had 7 points in his first 11 games. And so since then he has had 4 points. 4 points in his last 53. So yeah, and he got that contract. I know after that, so he got the 3 year contract. I think of $1.3 million. The thing
Yeah.
is, I just don't think that he is an everyday NHL player. In my opinion, I just don't see the consistency. He's not like if I'm looking at a team that has like okay, a guy like Nico Sturm on the Panthers, that is a classic fourth line center.
Mhm.
I don't think Mark Kastelik is a classic fourth line center. I don't see it. You know, he's got a little.
I mean, I,
tools,
I
just-
could, but I think yeah, that's the thing. He was very much another inconsistent bottom sixer
Mhm.
for the Sens. So obviously he had his hot start with the Bruins, and it seems to be in a role that he's very happy to be in Boston. But we'll have to see if he makes a step next year or if he just remains the same to see whether he's a full-time NHL player. I mean, even with him being part of the deal, I don't think it makes even a slight difference on who wins that trade.
No, yeah. It just he's kind of a throw-in, right? And but like he kind of looked like he was going to be part of like the center core, I guess. I thought they would have stuck with him a little bit longer, but after last year,
third or fourth line.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever going to become a third liner. He's going to be 26.
Well, me neither, but
yeah, like fourth line guy. He was good on faceoffs, but that's it. So I actually prefer Gaudette there at this point. So yeah,
me too, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we touched upon everything tonight. We're going on an hour. These things go by so fast. Sorry, go ahead.
We do have, I think, one question from the chat if you want to move to the fourth, the overtime period. And I think this is a good question we can end this on.
Okay. What is it? Sorry, I didn't know how my phone
good to go?
Yeah.
Matthew in chat, who I know is one of our regulars. Thanks so much for stopping by, Matthew. He said, do we agree going into the playoffs who we'd rather face? If you were to pick, who do you think the Sens match up best against? Who do you think it'd be?
Realistically? Like, because, okay. Washington.
Yeah. Sens have played up to Washington every game this year, and a lot of them have been like low-scoring events with both goaltenders playing great. I think if the Sens face Washington and they can make Thompson like look human in 2 games, I think they have a chance of winning that series.
I don't think the Caps get past round 2 this year. They have not.
You think they're like are they like a Boston almost? Yeah, I mean like Boston whenever they had that amazing year and then got reverse swept in the first round. Do you think they're kind of on that same vibe?
Well, Boston kind of like they choked it, whereas the Caps I think are not frauds, but they haven't had
overperforming.
Yeah, they haven't had an issue this year. They got a ton of guys shooting at insane shooting percentages, and Logan Thompson is a great goaltender. I could see a scenario where he doesn't take the team to the promised land.
You might have the Hellebuck where he's great in the regular season and then he has this one round where he plays bad, right? And it's not like his fault, but obviously that's something that could happen. You know who I'm gonna say?
Toronto.
I don't agree.
Wait.
I think their best matchup is the Leafs.
I was gonna say that too. Like they're my second, but the thing is,
I was gonna say I don't think you disagree with that mentality. But
like it would be horrible.
No, I agree. If we lost to them, it'd be devastating. But I also think if we lost to them this year, it's fine. You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because we're the underdogs.
Yeah, we are.
The Leafs are like I think whenever we were losing to them in the early 2000s, we were always the favorites.
Yeah.
Always. We were the more dominant regular season team. We have the better players, and we just lost to them, which is why it was so frustrating and annoying. Now the shoe is on the other foot. Yes, the teams are different, but now also the positions are different. The Sens are the underdogs. The Leafs are the teams that need to win. The Leafs are the teams that even though they won a round, they're still having first round issues. All the pressure is going to build on them. With Marner probably leaving as well, I think all the pressure is on the Leafs to do good. And if they win the round, congrats, they won the round. We're going to be pissed. We're going to be salty. We're going to have to take a lot of trash talk. But the one thing we can definitely say is that we're getting better. It doesn't matter what happens in the Leafs series. We're getting better. And the Leafs, you can argue that even if they win that round, they're getting worse.
I think the Leafs, it's like high risk, high reward.
Exactly.
You know, that's growing on me a little bit, the way that you're putting it, because it's true.
And even better too, the Sens of recent years, because they've been poor, even watching like Leafs fans' reactions to the games against the Sens always play up to the Leafs.
Yeah,
they always do because they know of the importance of it.
Yeah.
Now put that mentality of the recent Sens, even though they haven't made the playoffs, in a playoff setting, I think they can go off. I think they could like I wouldn't put money on it because I'm not a betting man. But I could see a future where the Sens win in 5 against the Leafs, which is crazy to say, but I could see it because the Sens always play up, and I think Leafs fans too. They know that if they were to pick a opponent right now, like for them, it's like picking which gun would you rather, which gun. I'm not gonna finish off that metaphor, but pick which sword would you rather stab yourself with. Okay, we'll put it that way. I think with them, it's like, okay, do we face a team that we hate in the Sens who could beat us? Do we face a team with Brad Marchand, which isn't Boston? Or do we face Boston, or Columbus, which they even lost to in They could lose 2 again. I think with them, it's just like, pick your poison. But with the Sens, it's like, pick the team that you would rather face and try and make a name for yourself against.
Yeah.
And I feel like each team, no matter what, I think the Sens' worst matchups are Tampa and Florida. Like, I think it's pretty evident to say. But if they match up against Washington or Toronto, give me that series, 100%. I think it's safe to say that Washington and Toronto are the 2 teams we agree on. Like, those are the 2 teams we want to face. Yeah. If we face Florida or Tampa, it'd be a huge upset. It'd be a great thing. We're probably out.
Yeah, like Florida, it would be cool. Oh, the Kachucks and stuff, but then
the Kachucks, we're probably gonna lose that series.
Yes, but then
they're the cup champs. They're the cup champs for a reason.
And then Kachuk comes back for the playoffs after being on LTIR, and then they're just like $10 million over the cap.
Not many Sens fans would be disillusioned, or not disillusioned. What's the word I'm looking for? Like brazen enough, to say that they would beat the Panthers.
No.
Tampa, I would see a little bit more like we could potentially beat them, but even then, that's like
Vasilevsky.
You would have to still play up. You would have to play up against Vasilevsky. But again, if I were to pick one of the 2 Florida teams, I'd pick Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, we can agree on that definitely. The other, like Carolina and Jersey, we're not really going to be playing them if we make it. So
likely not. Yeah.
Okay, I would love to talk about the playoffs a little bit more, but we actually, we could go into this.
We have to wait till we qualify.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet.
Yeah. I'm excited. because this team feels legit. I'm serious. They just need to.
And we're near guaranteed.
Yeah.
We're near guaranteed.
I think probably with a win tonight, the money puck odds are probably at 90% to make the playoffs, especially with our stretch coming up. Okay, let's just take a deep breath and enjoy the moment for what it is, because we still got 17 more games to go. I think at this rate, so a little bit of a runway, right? Just be.
Yeah, the best thing, though, is that what has to happen for the Sens to follow the playoffs now it's not just one thing, but 2 things. They have to go on a losing streak. Everyone else needs to win around them.
Yeah.
That's possible. It happened in the middle of the year. So we're not going to... That's why we're not saying we're in playoffs yet.
No.
But at the same time, the odds of that happening again, when the Sens look so much better since the trade deadline, I'm confident that this team will be fine.
Yeah. They got some... The one, I guess, sort of issue is that they're playing against Montreal, Detroit, Columbus 3 times. We have not played Columbus this year, which is crazy because we're over 75% of them.
But again, losing to Columbus is not the problem. Losing to Detroit, Montreal, those are the problems.
Yeah.
Losing to New York, whatever, that's the problem. Because it doesn't matter too much whether you're in the first or second wildcard spot. I don't think we care.
No.
As long as we're in. So the Columbus games are great for stacking up points. But I think Columbus is also aware of the situation we're in. I don't think they're going to do this, but I don't think they would be as annoyed if the games went to overtime. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
If the games go to overtime against Detroit or Montreal, then you care. But the Columbus games, just get 2 points out of it.
Yeah.
One way, like those 3 games against Columbus, get 2 points. That would be the way I would look at it. Get 1 win or 2 overtime, reach overtime twice.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you'd be fine.
Yep. Okay, so with the shootout loss tonight against the Flyers, the Sens are 4 points back to the Tampa Bay Lightning right now for 3rd place.
I mean, I'm not gonna talk about that.
I know.
Just tell me how far ahead we are of the other teams.
Okay, sure. 5 points ahead of the Blue Jackets. Same games played. The Rangers won tonight, and the thing is, the Rangers are the favorite to get a wild card spot out of the bunch of teams that are mid right now.
Who are currently out.
Yeah, it's us and the Rangers. We are 5 points ahead of the Rangers with a game in hand. We are 6 points ahead of the Habs. We are 7 points ahead of the Detroit Red Wings, and we are 7 points ahead of the Bruins with 2 games in hand. But I'm not. About them.
I think it's safe to say that we as the Sens don't need to worry about getting knocked out of the playoffs by the Bruins.
Yeah.
Columbus might, but not the Sens.
Yeah.
We're already in a great position points wise.
Yeah.
5-point lead this late into the season is great, but they need to keep it up.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that for tonight. Because we're going on 70 minutes. It's just it's a good 70 minutes though, right? We're not figuring out how to fix the team and who we're gonna trade. And
a lot of my recent times in Game Over have been long. I am a bit of a yapper, but at the same time, dude, we haven't had much opportunity to talk good about this team. So yes, I'm gonna do it.
No. Yeah, definitely. We'll be back on Saturday. I believe it's Maude and Charlie for, or sorry, no, it won't be. I can't remember. I think it's Maude who's on against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Either way, like, yeah, keep a note on Twitter and Blue Sky, and you'll know.
Yeah, definitely. Um, well, let's see if we can keep this at six game win streak. We'll see. But thank you everyone in the chat for joining us. I know we like rambled a ton tonight. And we'll see you on Saturday. Thank you and have a good night.
Go Sens, go.